Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. This hyperbolic statement was made famous by Chris Rock.
Only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally.
It has become a mantra, a battle cry, a crutch for wounded men, men who feel unseen and unappreciated by society, and especially by women. You hear it parroted by red pill goofs like Rich Cooper, Rollo Tomassi, and Myron Gaines, who make a living pandering to and preying on men who are wounded and struggling.
Women love unconditional, okay? Whereas like a man will go find a gorgeous little broke ass pretty girl and be like, get out of that trash can, girl. You're coming with me now. I'm about to change your life. Have a baby by me, be a millionaire. Boom.
Men have a concept of love that is based on idealism, whereas women's concept of love is based on opportunism.
Women don't care about the struggle. They hang out at the finish line and they the winners.
Men love women far differently than women love men. Men love women for real. Women love men.
Women love men for real.
No, they don't. Women love men under the premise that they provide value.
But the whole notion of it is utter bullshit. Sure, we must acknowledge that there are less expectations on women in relationships to provide, to protect, or to initiate, but there are much greater expectations of women in other ways. For example, one of which could be their bodies and staying slim, which is actually far more difficult for women to do than men biologically, as they have a lot less muscle mass and less testosterone, and they go through things like pregnancy and menopause, things that men don't experience. Women's achievements tend to get eclipsed by the way that they look, especially when it comes to relationships with men. I don't know about you, but that's not sounding very unconditional to me. Or have you heard the recent news about the online group of 70,000 men who were swapping advice and tips on how to abuse, manipulate, and assault the women in their lives? Does that sound like a group of people who are loved unconditionally? Honestly, to even suggest it is such ignorant garbage. And for those of you who still have this type of mindset, what I'm going to say at the end of this video is dedicated to you. Now, I think where some men might get it twisted is in conflating access to sex with love and commitment, especially men who don't have as much access to sex as they would like. Yes, there are definitely more conditions that a man must meet in order to achieve sex freely, whereas for women, there really are no barriers to sex, at least if her standards are low enough. But that's not love. Besides, my brother in Christ, let's be happy we are alive in 2025, because for the most of human history, less than half of men even had the chance to procreate. Statistically, relationships with women are more accessible now than ever before. Although I will say, in the last couple of decades, it has been going downhill, and marriage in the modern world is looking bleak and being eroded beneath our feet. But that's a whole different can of worms. Let me ask you, how many women get dumped or cheated on or neglected or abused as their bodies age and they hit the wall, or they gain weight, or if they aren't doing enough around the home? There are countless stories of women who have been trapped in brutal one-sided relationships. Or what about women who don't put out? How many men will wait for her to love her and date her and marry her if he can't clap cheeks in the first 3 weeks? Does that sound like unconditional love to you? Now, what about children? Are they loved unconditionally? Ask yourself, how many children are the victims of abusive parents, or kids who grew up feeling like they were never good enough for their parents' love and approval? Or what about the kids who come out against their parents' belief systems, whether that be sexual orientation or religion? Are those children always loved unconditionally? And what about dogs? Let's be real. Dogs are better at loving us unconditionally than we are at loving them. At the end of the day, equal in value as a human does not mean equal in all experiences and outcomes. There are things that affect women that men do not experience, and things that affect men that women do not experience. And a race to see who can be the most victimized by the other is just a race to the bottom. Still, we must acknowledge that there is a reason that this quote resonates so deeply with so many men today, as a lot of men really do feel unappreciated and invisible and have become apathetic because of it. It's a very real problem. But as a man, I believe that we need to see it as an honor to be able to provide and to protect, to bring value. We fantasize about being warriors and heroes, visualizing ourselves fighting off an onslaught of bad guys like John Wick, overestimating our fighting abilities to delusional levels. We want to give the people that we love everything and more, and it hurts when we feel like we don't measure up. This is how we are built and what we are built for, and to deny it is to deny our nature. A man must aim for more responsibility, not less. And it's from a position of that type of strength and competence that we are better equipped to open up to vulnerability as men. And going around saying, oh, poor me, I'm only loved if I provide something, but women and children are loved with no conditions. I shouldn't have to provide anything to get what I want, is immature, self-centered, entitled, and false. It's 2025. It's time that we cut the shit and grow up. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child, and I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things.